I love climbing games, and I find it interesting how different games handle the climbing mechanically. So today we're going to compare the climbing in two games, Jusant and Cairn. Now this won't be a review of these games, so if you need a review, this is not the place, but rather a mechanical comparison of the two games. Let's start with the basics. First thing you'll notice is that in Jusant, you control your arms, while your legs just move automatically. You basically aim in the direction you want to climb, and then hold the button corresponding to the arm you want to use. So let's say you have extended your left arm, you're going to press the left button. And then you need to hold onto that button so to not lose your grip. So climbing, it's alternating basically left and right button. Your character will automatically grab the closest hold, so you don't need to be particular or specific about where you aim. Just aim in the general direction and the character will automatically grab the closest hold. In Cairn, however, you control all four of your limbs, positioning them one at a time. Here, after you aim where you want to position, you just press left button and you don't need to hold anything. So the limb will just stay in that position. In Cairn though, you'll have to aim your limb more precisely because Ava won't automatically grab the closest hold, but will just position herself anywhere on the wall. Speaking of holds, in Jusant you can only grab predetermined holds. So the character, as we explained before, will automatically grab the closest hold near his hand. Visually, it's very intuitive where you can climb and where you can't. In Cairn, you can instead position your limbs anywhere on the wall. Now, of course, if a certain area is completely flat, you won't be able to grip it. But as long as something has the right shape, you can grab it. And even in those flat areas, you will still be able to position your limb there. So even if this will make for an unstable position, it can help in certain transition. And as you can see visually, where you climb just looks like mountain, it's just rock. So it's very natural looking. Let's talk about variety. In Jusant, there aren't really different routes. I mean, there can be deviations or sometimes two paths that eventually come to the same place. But overall, I would say it's a pretty linear experience. So it's not that interesting to replay or to climb the same area again. In Cairn, there are definitely different routes. I mean, even just in a demo, there are so many ways to climb the wall. I mean, sometimes you can kind of see 4 to 5 general paths, but because you can grab anywhere on the wall, every climb feels different. Because even if you're, let's say, going up the same general route, you can approach it in a different way. So this makes the game very replayable, and every climb definitely feels different. Well, let's talk about the main thing we're trying to avoid when we play these games, falling. Well, in Jusant, you can fall in 3 scenarios, generally speaking. If you let go of the buttons that make you grip the wall, if your stamina depletes, which happens very rarely, or because of an environmental reason, like a hole disappearing or something else. Finally, you can fall if you mistime your jumps. In Cairn, you can fall because your stamina is depleted, same as Jusant, or because you're staying in an unstable position for too long. At times, even just placing a limb in the wrong place can immediately make you fall if your position was unstable to begin with. So in other words, maybe your foot was in the wrong place, and then you'll move your other foot and you're gonna fall because the right foot was in an unstable position and the left foot was just lifted off, and so you just fall. Both games have a stamina system. In Jusant, you can regain your stamina by pressing a button. Although, if you climb too much without resting, you'll see that not all of it will regain. So in that case, you can find a relay, which will allow you to bailey and fully recover your stamina. Stamina affects you even in Cairn, but there isn't a bar showing you how much you got left. You can recover stamina by pressing a button, just like Jusant. However, you need to be in a stable enough position to do so effectively. Or, if you want to fully recover your stamina, you can bailey on one of your pitons that you planted earlier. Also, when you're bailing, you can use items from your backpack. Let's talk a little bit about safety. In Jusant, you will be automatically clipped to a rope once you start a climb. So you are safe at all times. Now you could still lose some progress if you fall. But to make the progress you lose less, you can plant up to 3 pitons. This will be given back to you once you finish climbing or if you find a relay. Things are different in Cairn. You're not automatically clipped in when you start your climb, so you need to manually place pitons to make yourself safer. If you fall and you're not clipped in, not only you can lose a lot of progress, but you can also hurt yourself or even die. Same as Jusant, you get your pitons back once you finish a section of climbing. Let's talk more about difficulty. In Jusant, the difficulty most comes from the environment rather than the climb itself. So for instance, there will be like holes that disappear magically, or holes that move, or in other sections like the blowing of the wind that will mess you up, or like other mechanics like that. In Cairn, the climbing is the main obstacle of the game. Although there are also some survival elements you need to think about, which, although minor, they do add a level of humanity and like a little pressure to move forward. You can't waste too much time because you'll start getting hungry, or you'll need to rest, or things like that. Now, of course, there's a lot that could still be said about both of these games, but for a short video about comparing the mechanics, I think this is enough. In conclusion, Jusant is beautiful, meditative, and pleasant, but it's not really interested in challenging you. Climbing doesn't require much focus or planning, and risks are low. Even when the game gets more difficult, that difficulty often comes from the environment rather than the climb itself. It has, though, beautifully designed environments and some great vibes. The game generally doesn't feel very physical, so it feels more a game about climbing rather than a climbing game, if that makes sense. So it's not that interesting to replay, but it's a pleasant journey. I would recommend Jusant if you want a pleasant, linear experience about climbing, with some storytelling and with little friction. In Cairn, climbing requires planning and, let's say, reading the wall. It can be as difficult as you want it to be, given that you can choose how many pitons to use and also where and how to climb. The stakes are high, and falling can make you lose a lot of progress or even die. The freedom of movement makes you really feel the climb and immerses you in the character. All of these elements together manage to create tension as you're ascending. Every climb feels different and it's very replayable. So I would recommend Cairn if you want to feel the challenge and physicality of climbing, and if you want something that feels different every time.